Hello, everybody. This is Stan. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm here again today with Daniel Patterson. We're going to do a redo of the first video because Daniel was using a Bluetooth headset and it just didn't work very well. And a lot of people wanted to hear his story, but they just couldn't watch the video due to the audio. So we're just going to do a redo today. And hopefully we'll catch on all the points. If you miss anything, at least you'll be able to hear my audio in the previous video better. But we'll have audio for both of us today. And you'll get to hear Daniel's story about something that happened to him on a Facebook Live video that he wasn't aware of until a friend of his pointed it out to him. Was it during the live video, Daniel, or after?
After the fact, I usually share my videos with friends and close colleagues, and just just to inspire people, just let them see kind of stuff I record if they missed it on live. And a friend of mine, Dustin, was actually previewing the video and said, "Hey Dan, and did you notice that there's something flying around above your head?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "I wasn't even aware, man," but it wouldn't surprise me because I've seen them before. So he slowed the video down and actually showed me, and we started trying to get it to where we could screenshot it. And lo and behold, it's a physical object that he saw and pointed out, and it's just been powerful testimony since.
Okay. Well, I mean, so you guys got to hear a little bit of, how they discovered this object that was captured within Daniel's Facebook Live. So Daniel, if you want to start over again, I guess tell your story of yourself if you want, and then we can start segueing into that day and what happened.
Yeah, January 24th, 2019, I was in Liberty, North Carolina, moving back from the effects of Florence. We were down in the coastal area of North Carolina and got affected by a hurricane, and which actually brought me to the area of Liberty. I was staying with some friends. Due to the flooding in the area where we live, we couldn't go back for a while. So family got separated, staying in a couple places. And, in that time, I gained back on my spirituality when things kind of fall apart. So I was kind of bored that day. I wanted to go out in the field with my dogs and kind of do some scouting. And basically what I was doing in the field was just connecting, just getting out the house. And, I tend to find myself spiritually connecting when I go out in the woods, almost in every level of essence as a being. And that day I was really just out talking to my dad in the universe, and feel like he showed up in a big way because during the month of January, me and my wife experienced our first separation of last year, and now we're separated for over a year. And not everybody agrees with who we become as we grow older. And so really that day I was out praying for my family and my wife and just looking for direction from my father. And from a Southern Pentecostal Baptist perspective, when I acknowledged the universe and started speaking about God, for me, what I know to be the Holy Spirit and what I was taught as a young man and coming into my age was very present. And in the video, I noticed some things after it's been brought to my attention about this object that flew above my head, is that, for one, I brought up the universe, and the intent of my heart was speaking to my father. And, from a Pentecostal background, and I've studied the Bible 30 years now and read it about 9 times, and probably, almost to 1,000 books correlating to history and consciousness and awareness, and, just trying to figure out who I am as a being outside of what I was taught coming up as a young man. I feel like something acknowledged me that day in a big way, and it was real noetic right after it passed over my head. So for me, noetic is kind of almost like an instant download, and that's what I experienced that day. The air was really electric. I automatically felt the presence of God and what I know to be God come over me and deliver a message through me that day. And I think that's for me, that's what's most powerful, is that I've always just been willing to be a vessel for what I understand to be the Holy Spirit or the Holy Trinity. And what I'm coming into is a more conscious and aware state of who we are as a being. So that day, looking back on it now, how many times I've done talked to it, and you're probably the the only other person that I would ever allow interview, because your conscience resonates in mine. And to be able just to be honest with my experiences and my testimony that day is what I'm only really trying to do in seeking the truth of if there is other aliens other than us. Because what if we are the aliens to this world? You know, and that's the truth and awareness that we're trying to raise in this reality that we're experiencing. And you know, that day, Stanley, it was just me and God, really. And I was just a humble, broken man praying over my wife, praying over my family, seeking my father's guidance. And you know, my father, he was a real impact on my life, and died when I was 23 years old. I got the pleasure of holding my father when he took his last breath. And you know, that day he passed away, he gave me a torch to carry on in our family. And that's how I connect to the universe. And it's just as my father had a third grade education. So, you know, a lot of people would look at that and say, well, how did he teach you? And my father was probably one of the smartest men I knew. And, you know, for me to be raised in church and Pentecostal and my dad not go on Sundays, but we always went as a family and with my mom, I learned a lot. And to look at my father's life and what he taught me resonates now as a father's love. And that's the truth behind any aspect of religion that we can teach one another, is that it all boils back down to a basic father's love. Because, you know, that's what I understand all books of creation to come from, is a simple structure of a father's love and his willingness to edify everyone around him, including his children. So that day was powerful for me. And to get a second chance to explain it better is even more powerful, because I feel like the world does need to know the truth. And in so many ways that we already kind of know the truth because of our awareness being risen into from a 3 to a 5D environment. The ones that do understand consciously are here, and we're aware, and we're all working together. It's not just more than the other. It's a collective effort.
Yeah, definitely. And as you recall, when in the video, and I can't play the video for you guys here, and because I think I'm getting a little bit of my voice feedback. If in this video, I can't replay his video because you can't see the anomaly or the UFO because it doesn't render properly. I found that out in our first video. But what I will do is I'll put all the links, the same links that I have in our first episode, in the description below. So it has the timestamp where you can see for yourself. But where Daniel had the experience, there at the moment he says God, the anomaly comes right over his head. That's the moment it happened. And last time we had our talk, Daniel, I think you remember saying, I said to you, what do you think if that was your father sending a sign?
After our last conversation, Stan, no, I'm gonna get emotional.
That's okay. It's good.
It meant a lot to me, man. And I got some acknowledgement from the universe in a special way. And you know, since our first recording, I've had some anomalies in the sky, and it was correlation to praying to my dad again. So I wish I could have got it on video, but
sometimes they're just meant for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen so many, and you know, we went over it before. I've seen so many things in the sky, and a lot of people that are watching this now that didn't see the first one, or rewatching this because you couldn't hear Daniel in the first one. There's, you know, Daniel has expressed in the first video that he grew up in the churches, and at one point in his life, right, Daniel, you opened up to all this other stuff that they would call new age, and that a lot of churches and a lot of people dismiss, thinking it's of the devil, if you will, or of Lucifer. But you have to really be able to kind of shed away all your beliefs and open up your heart and your mind to what really is being shared here through the Christ story. which through the Gregory Hallett story, which is also revealing that there's been a lot of possible um, deception within the scriptures through the whole story of realizing who we are and our connection to God and in consciousness as it is. And do you want to kind of share with us when that started for you outside of your the teachings, the linear teachings that you were taught growing up?
Yeah, me and my wife, my first wife, we had experienced trouble in 2003, and we went to a place called Jackson Park Ministry in Charlotte, North Carolina, which was a live-in facility, to where we gained guidance. It was a program that they helped us gain guidance from a biblical understanding, from a Christ perspective, and just the overall teaching on how to balance our money biblically, how to be partners in marriage biblically, how to raise our children biblically. And we successfully completed that program within 2 years. But I guess for me, when I was 24 in that program, on New Year's Eve 2004, I experienced my first kind of miracle, per se. And there was 40 men that gathered that night in that program that actually had another guy. Me and him were drinking a cold beer on the ministry, which were against the rules that night. And, we were still knuckleheads, and that's why we're part of the ministry. So they asked me to go bring him up, even though they knew we had drank a beer for New Year's Eve, and that was kind of against the rules. They just overlooked it because the spirit that night was strong within them. So they asked me to bring him up, and I did, even though I had beer on my breath, and we all were sitting there praying. And Justin, a little backstory behind him, he had his eyes burnt from nitrous oxide for about 10 years, and his retinas were severely scarred, so he was about 80% blind. And when we brought him up there, we gathered around him and put our hands against each one of his shoulders and just simply prayed for him. And I watched physically his eyes turn from blue back to brown, and just kind of stayed like a normal brown color, but they were actually always dilated and red prior to this night. So when that happened in my life, it made me search deeper into Christianity and how that was physically possible. Because I knew God at that moment in my life to be what I understood from the Pentecostal church and the teachings and God, family, country type mindset. And I was a hard Bible thumper, Southern Baptist, and didn't believe any other way, and that's the way I was going to raise my kids. But when I witnessed that, I dove into, how is this physically possible? How could I witness 40 of us gather around and heal a man's eyes? And they did take him to the emergency room the next day, and his eyes were 100%. So for me, knowing this guy for 2 years and knowing that he had a serious eye condition, to being healed when we were still being knuckleheads, drinking cold beer on the New Year, and asked to be part of a prayer group, and then physically watch him be healed, I questioned the whole reality of what I was taught in church. And that's what I've been seeking ever since. So for me to say one thing specific, seeing a miracle firsthand has searched me on a journey to raise my consciousness and try to be more aware of how we can make that physically possible, because we're beautiful beings in unity, in awareness, in a collective consciousness. I believe that we could probably move mountains if we really tried. But, to find that purity with that intent is hard to do. And I guess that's, in this age and what we're going into, is that's most important, to bring awareness around this, the abilities that we have, that if we're in sync in a collective consciousness, the power that we have over the realm that we live in.
Absolutely. And, I've mentioned this in several other videos of mine about that, there's beings that I know that have abilities and that have been, you look at Edward Casey that can do remote healing. And yes, when we all realize that we can heal each other through frequency, energy, and vibration, and knowing, not through believing, because that's limiting, but through knowing that we have these abilities to be able to heal ourselves in other ways and heal others and heal the world and heal our consciousness and the planet. Once we know this and we reach that critical mass level of knowing, and certain amount of beings come to that level, then we're really going to see a rapid change. And that's basically what we're seeing in society of all this unfolding here. We're seeing the awakening of consciousness because it's all God experiencing itself as itself, and it's all
It
just
is.
unfolding. And some of us are just a little bit further along than others. That's the only difference. We're all the same, but we're just, the veils are being lifted for certain individuals a little bit earlier than others.
Absolutely. I grew up for a long period from my early 20s until now because of the things that I practiced through meditation, through cleansing, through sometimes I will go with less sleep, so I have more time to pray and less food, which is called fasting, to have a deeper connection and understanding spiritually of how to connect. And through those journeys, I have definitely been in a lot of churches and considered New Age, and a lot of people are fearful to hear me speak. But when they do hear me speak, I have a sense that people understand a deep wisdom within me that I don't understand, that's being brought forth. And the more I embrace that, the more that the universe is teaching me. Um, as far as like ascending, um, I know if you talk about ascending in the Christian church, a lot of people don't understand it. But when you meditate deep enough and you connect deep enough, this is very powerful. The things that you are able to understand and see, even as far as knowing some of the, I may not say it right, but the Acosta records, Acosta
Akashic,
records.
Records.
I'm trying. I'm in my beginning stages of learning to be able to um, tap
Connect with.
into
Yeah.
technology. But it's very real. It's very powerful, and it does change the essence of your being when you do tap into it. I think others are aware and others see it.
Yeah, and didn't Christ have a quote that said, "You too shall do greater things," you know?
Yes.
So, yeah,
One
I
of my
mean, you two could be like me, just you two shall do greater things in this world. And, that's what Christ was teaching is basically, it just depends on what you're reading, what scriptures, what version, and, what church you're going to, that Christ was teaching. That's what the seven churches and the seven candlesticks was talking about, the chakra systems, and the 40 days 40 nights of meditation that Christ apparently did. So there's a lot of stuff because Christ spoke in parables, which is basically metaphors for his teachings, so the elites wouldn't be able to just throw it out, and so he was speaking to the people in those parables.
Yep, absolutely. Um, and I would add, like, some of my studying over my 40 years of life, like my ninth grade teacher wound up giving me a Bible. I was dyslexic and I always had trouble in school reading. So every time I get called on in class, in history class, he would understand that I'd just shut down. I wouldn't read. So he brought me a Bible one day and he said, "Hey, Dan, you really want to learn how to read," because he understood I was dyslexic with how I wrote and how I pronounced things. And my dyslexia is kind of what I see things backwards in the Bible. So when I started searching from ninth grade till now, has been my journey through the Old King James Testament, through the New Testament. But I see different things than others might not see, and it comes to me instantly because I see it all backwards, and then I have to, in my mind, bring it forwards, and then pronounce it forwards, and pronounce it accurately, and articulate. So it's given me the ability to analyze certain things. For instance, like Revelations, I believe it's Revelations 12, or there's a verse in Revelations 12 that came through. It was a constellation alignment, September 23rd, 2017. And a lot of people don't even look that there's a lot of astrology built into the King James Bible. And that correlates along with how we can predict things. So, and it goes all the way into esoteric. And I believe what I've learned prior to me ever learning about Mr. Gregory Hallett and the New King, I have saw these things for what they were and how the play on words have always been used inside organized religion. And for me, that just never was comfortable because I always connected to a spiritual level. And once that awareness was there on what and how to obtain it, is how I tried to grow as an individual.
That's great. Yeah, that's when we open up, there's so much growth, isn't there? Like as it just keeps coming through, we're like
A
all
lot
these
of growth.
veils, yeah, all these veils start to lift, and you have all these realizations, these personal, and it's the experiences. It's not a belief. It becomes a knowing at that point because now you're like, you have this experience. You can't take that away from people. When you have the experience, it's now you know. It's a direct knowing that there's something greater, there's something more, there's more outside of, like you grew up. I didn't grow up, indoctrinated, but you were able to escape out and not afraid to explore outside of that due to that miraculous experience. I personally
Absolutely.
haven't seen something like that directly, but I've heard it's happened. I have friends that have seen things such as yourself, these direct miracles where someone is a certain state, and then just through prayer and meditation or whatever, a group prayer or collective effort, people heal, and it's
I think
very
it's more.
powerful.
I
Yeah.
think it's more based off of collective consciousness. When we're all there and we all sink into something, that's when we can experience phenomena we've never understood before. And I think the more that we move into that sort of thinking and bring that intent forth, that we're going to see even more credible things, what we can do as beings. And who's to say that we won't bring other beings attracted to it? Because I believe, even in the universe's aspect, and why I've started searching so much for other beings, is that end of the day, we call the Ten Commandments a universal law. And a common sense man like myself, I cannot believe that we're by ourselves if it's universal. So it's a moral obligation for me to be here and seated here and teach that and let that light shine through in presence and raise people's awareness to that, because it's really basic if we get down to it, Stan, and how we connect. It's how we effectively edify one another through acts of kindness, and that raises our consciousness and brings closeness.
Yeah, what people really need to really open up to is the fact that we have been suppressed the knowledge and wisdom. That's why they call it the occult. That's why they've made it scary. The use of numbers and numerology, 666 doesn't have to always mean the devil. Um, these parables, like you said, there's coding in the Bible, there's coding in prophecy, there's coding in everything. It literally is a digital universe because I see a lot of time coding personally, seeing
Yeah,
number codes, and a lot of us start seeing, like the 1111, and a lot of people start seeing it's ridiculous. It's like at a certain point in your life, it's like you can't escape it. It's like the universe is like, okay, now is the time for you to start awakening. You have these experiences, you see the time code, there's more. Now, some people, they'll see them but they don't recognize them. They just
right.
it's just bypass. Oh, it's 11:11, and they don't think
That's what
anything
we
of it.
call asleep.
Oh, what's that?
That's what we call asleep.
Yeah, and that's when you're asleep. You're not awakened to the signs of the universe. God has communicating, say, hey, this is your time. You're starting to ascend. You're awakening out of the slumber, out of the sleep of this whole illusion system that's been created for us. I mean, when you look back, the Vatican created, the Pope created the Gregorian calendar. I can't remember what year it was, but it was created by the Vatican. So they're
Yeah,
literally changing timelines and everything, and taking everything and inverting it from the divine into this inversion of the Luciferian construct, which we're living in. So your Bible and everything, and you being a man of the Bible, growing up and knowing it in and out way more than I, but I can see that it has Luciferian subversion and inversion inside of it.
there's a lot of dogma wrapped around the Bible based off predictions and a lot of superstition. The basics of the Bible is morality and the the purity of the Christo effect, or Christ or Jesus. And I believe that he was a real individual that lived the testimony to be able to share, was the simple willingness and intent of his heart to edify and choose his neighbor over himself. That is the most purest form of giving. And that's one self for another. And for me, that resonates a pure energy that can be taught to bring unity. And if we live that example, you can find fault in you. and it's real basic. You know, it's not, people make it hard. It's really not hard when we break it back down to the basics. It's just taking care of yourself, your mind, your body, and your soul, and then edifying others around you through that.
Absolutely. And, you know, basically, what did Tesla say? If you understand you want to understand the secrets of the universe, understand energy, frequency, and vibration. Everything is just
Absolutely.
energy forms manifested. Everything's a frequency. You're a frequency manifested into a form. The grass, the birds, the bees, the trees. Every one of these things is a certain frequency manifested into a form. So this would get into like quantum physics and stuff like that. Now, then you've got the people that would think quantum physics is of the devil. This is just teachings that people have been brainwashed because the certain, you know, sects or cults do not want you to know your connection, because if you do know your connection, as Daniel and I myself and many others have experienced and been open to experiencing and expressing, the world is a beautiful place and there's nothing to fear. Even everything that's
Absolutely.
going on right now, it's really one big illusion. It's just all the awakening of the consciousness. That's just the collective shadows that's playing out, being revealed in this form. And that's why there's really nothing to fear ultimately.
You
Because
said that, Stan. That's the biggest hurdle we face in ascension, is that the people that are walking around wearing these masks, unfortunately, are being told to do something, and when they hear there's a chance that they might, let's just say the word die, then they're enslaved in fear. And that's what these elitists and these Luciferians understood on how to keep our consciousness captive, is that if they push the fear and that dark energy and it overwhelms, but see, in that position though, we have to surrender in that fear for them to keep us captive. And that's what is important right now, is that we raise our vibrations so high that we all vibe. We go all the way up, bro. Like, that's the end of the story. We raise our vibrations so high we all go all the way up.
we ascend above the lower frequencies. So these so-called, you know, there's so much to know about viruses that we've been lied about too, about viruses and how they work. We've been lied to about so many things that it's hard to have those conversations without really having time to sit with somebody, undistracted time, because you can't do it in a 2-minute passing with somebody that's
You know,
in abundance amount of fear. And so when I, like, just before we started this video, there's a gentleman that lives where I live, and you know, he's listens to me a lot. We love talking to each other because he gets more revelations. And he works where I work, and he's still in some fear. He's older, but he has a, you know, he doesn't live the healthiest lifestyle, and these people are starting to realize that they have these weak immune systems, but through faults of their own. You know, it's not, nobody puts you in these positions but yourself. Then
by
you're in these
choice.
lower frequencies of fear and being dependent on the system, and now the system is telling you you should be in fear, so you're going to be in fear. And until the system says you don't have to be in fear anymore, then you'll back into your illusion of being safe and secure again. But it's all still just an illusion until you take control of your own life and know that this system is a control system and see it as it is, and you can step outside of it and witness it for what it is. Then you cannot be controlled by it. None of
Right.
their narrative you will fall for. You can see right through it, and you will realize there's nothing to fear at all.
Absolutely. Well, when this UFO actually showed up in my film this time, for me it was unexpected, but it led me on a journey to start investigating a lot more truth. It's 2009. I planted a God seed of my own, which was Clean America. That was just to get people moving. And I manifested. I put these signs all over cities saying Clean America. It was just a simple seed. And now we have Magma and QAnon, and Patriot Movement. And we just got all kinds of righteous people standing trying to do the right thing. Now, if we can get them consciously aware of why it's important to keep doing the right thing in our societies and teaching the right things, I think we'll see revelations in this country like we've never saw before. I actually went down to Warner Robins, Georgia, and inquired about the vehicle that I captured on a live feed at the Warner Robins Air Force Base and Museum. I took my whole family down because Now I'm just as confused as anybody else when something like that shows up, and I've never seen present technology or been on the ship myself. But I was kind of told it was a time machine by some very uh, highly ranked retired military members in the Air Force at Warner Robins
This
Air
one
Force.
in the recent video, I'm looking up the pictures while you're telling your story. So
That one that was captured right over the top of my head. It took me about 162 times to stop the video with my cell phone to where I got the object over my head.
all right, I'm gonna hit
And
screen share real quick here while you're telling it.
I just I just screenshotted it, screenshotted it, and zoomed in, and then I had MUFON look at it with News 2, and that object there.
We're talking about this one right here, you guys.
That that
Right
one
there.
right there, it was described to me to be a time machine based off how Bob. They told me to refer back to Bob Lazar and how he describes it on how they fly, and that would validify what their thinking is. And then once we got the screenshots off, we got some filters to see the validity to make sure it's a solid object. We wound up finding a filter that actually showed thermal images of that object, and it showed extreme heat, extreme cold, and an exhaust vent with metal in between it, kind of like at a regular temperature. So
This one here you're talking about.
that is the thermal image, correct?
Here.
If you look at the extreme heat on one side, it's just basic. Either you can break it back down to the basic quantum theories or time warp theories or the cold fusion theories based off this one thermal photo, but it also proves that it has some kind of metal that's right in the middle that doesn't even radiate any signature of thermal temperature one way or the other, because everything's above and below it. So it's just interesting what the whistleblowers have already came out and told us. And if we go back and we refer to Bob Lazar's documentaries, and he says these things fly bottom forwards, in the trajectory of the film and where it came across in the live feed, it actually is flying bottom forwards. So it's very powerful that to capture just a minute of that and just trying to connect to the universe, and then something flies by. Who's to say, like, some of the technology that we have isn't being controlled by some of the good guys, and timelines aren't being changed in essence as we speak. So it's just kind of my thinking these days, because of certain individuals speaking. Who knows? At the end of the day, I'm still trying to learn to speak to some angelic beings that have been very apparent over my life, and I'm learning it. And the more I study Corey Good and David Wilcock, the more I'm understanding things that's always been around my life. That one picture there is the TRB. You look and you zoom in, that's the actual triangle. And these other screenshots and clips that I got, like this one here, Stan, was from MUFON. They actually said that they found 5 objects in the film. These are 2 of the 5, and the one that was over my head was the original one. So
Really?
there was multiple objects.
So you did hear from them finally?
I did talk to their
because in the first
name,
video by that time, I don't think you didn't heard from them yet. I think that's what you said.
I had heard from them, but they've never given me a solid correlation in what Barbara Alterser said from MUFON. She's their investigation specialist. She was telling me that best case scenario is that they were not going to be able to identify it because they didn't know what it was. And then when the news called back after them saying that this was a golden nugget video, and then attaching the Navy's release videos to this one story, and then everything start making news May 2nd, I was also asked to go on world stage news, and I didn't entertain the idea because I didn't want to make to be look crazy other than the local news station.
Yeah, that's right. You were on the local news in North Carolina. Well, you weren't personally on it, but I think they talked about your story, right?
Yeah, May 2nd. I just sent them some photos, and they reached out and inquired about the story, and they actually analyzed the video and was blown away. I got a couple other photos that I've not shared. That there's this one kind of, I don't share it because of the image quality. But anybody's welcome to take this live feed and break it down. Everybody has their own opinion about you know, the sunspots and the sun flares, and you're always going to have your haters. But you know, Stan, at the end of the day, when you go out and talk to the universe on a live feed, and you're in tune with the world, one way or the other, whether it's time machine or whether it's a benevolent beings trying to contact us, it's pretty powerful things that can be manifested.
But yeah, like I said, you know, when now looking at this again to redact from the first video, it looks like there's a little shiny thing right here that could be a cloud. And this right here is the actual UFO. So when you zoom in, there's a little dot. Now, I don't know where you zoomed in from, if it seems separate because you got this, right? That's the object that you zoomed in on and did the thermal on.
Yes.
Then you've got, let me see here. Sorry, guys, I got to try to, it's always a challenge trying to do this. Let's see if I go here and then I reopen, share this one. So now when we look at this one, so you're seeing this one with this image here. Can you see what I'm doing here?
Yeah, I do. That is interesting shadow.
Now that's that little dot there that was already there. So in the first video, I thought that was a reflection of this, but that was already there in that video. But this looks like something else.
Well, what Barbara told me and what we talked about this photo that they sent me off, this is some of their analysis photos that they sent me, that they thought that this was a TRB 38 chasing the original object.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's really interesting. So yeah, you kind of see it does have that shape.
Right.
Oh, I don't see that. Hold on, let me stop sharing. Go to the one that's a little closer.
Happened so fast in that video without some kind of expert analysis outside of MUFON. Like, I'm kind of at everybody's humble bestow. Like, anybody's welcome to help, and you know, the phone quality is what I had. This is what I recorded it on. I'm just trying to share truths to possible wars in the heavens, man, because that's actually, you think about it, if it's an unseen war and we're fighting a war that, or a beings that want to take away the relevancy of our consciousness, we're not going to see it happen. It's going to be above our heads or below our feet.
Oh yeah, well that's already happening. I mean, you got the stuff going down in the underground military bases. You've got the war in the heavens. There is, I mean, if people haven't opened up to realize now that there are crafts, there have been craft, they do exist. They're not all demonic, as you know, other people have been told. There are benevolent beings in the heavens as well as malevolent beings, you know, and so. It's just it's above and below, it's on the ground, and it's everywhere, and it's bigger than us. The universe is so much bigger than we can fathom. The galaxies, we're just one galaxy within many millions of other galaxies. So
Absolutely.
to think that we're the only beings here is pretty ignorant, to say the least. But that does, if you look at that, and it's hard to tell how it renders through the Zoom recording, but it does look like a triangle. And I don't know, is this the blow up of the main image? Because that means that is there.
I don't know what time rendering that's going to be at, Stan. That's something that MUFON sent me along after I really only gave them the one object. And some of the photos that they sent me back were of those two crafts, another light orb, and then another black ship kind of hanging out in the clouds around the one black ship in the video. I think it's around 9:26 or 9:24. If you correlate the timestamps in all the videos, every object shows up about 3:26, 9:26. It's kind of synchronicities on how they show up in the live feed. It's not nothing I really did, man. I'm just a vessel. I give all glory to the Creator, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so this is what I was wondering, is if that was a blow up of this, which I think it is, so that would mean that little object that you zoomed in on is right there. And if I do kind of look at it, it would be right there. There's that little white dot that could just be a small cloud. But there's the actual object that did zoom. And when you watch the video, you will see it zoom over his head at a high speed. And the timestamp to start it will be in the description below. And once again, when Daniel said the word God, this thing went right over his head at that moment, when he was connecting with his father. And if that is another object in there, that's highly interesting as well, when you zoom in and look at it. So, you know, this is all very spiritual stuff. There are spiritual beings in the heavens that do travel via craft. If you go back, I think, to the Nag Hammadi scripts and things of that nature, even Egypt, you know, they show images of craft. And so these things do exist. It's just like I said, it's ignorance, and that's not a derogatory term. It just means you're ignorant of other wisdom and knowledge, and you're just
Yes.
ignoring it. You know, that's basically what it is. So the whole spiritual connection to these beings is something that we are connected to, that many of us know and realize and come to know, especially when you have those experiences. Once again, it goes back to the experiences, and when you have the experience, nobody can take that away from you. And until you have them, then you'll know. And then some people that even do have them, they ignore them for fear out of being ridiculed by their society and their friends, because their friends aren't into that kind of stuff, and so they just suppress it and ignore it. But if you are out there and you do hear this and you are having experiences, let it be known. You know, do
Yeah,
not suppress this.
please, collectively, that's how we get the truth out there, and that's how we raise our consciousnesses together.
And that's the reason for this video. That's why you wanted to come out and to share your story. And so to help, right? Is that not the truth? For you to show this truth, for people to open up to the truth.
You know, the truth, Stan, is I never really felt comfortable talking about this after the first interview that I did with News 2. And I did that because that was my dad's favorite local news station. And, you know, he's been gone a long time, so I try to keep his memories alive. So I just shared it with them, really. And I have been on Facebook. I do, and have since 2009, just collectively trying to use my light and inspire people through just simple videos. And this is one of those simple videos that day. I'm just outboard trying to inspire people. And it seems like the more I move into my own and keep doing that, the more people hear truth in things that I say. I'm really no crazy individual. For the last 3 years, I've shared, you know, there's a king among us. And I just this year learned about Gregory Hallett through your video. But if anybody wanted to go search my post and understand that the spiritual aspect of the world is very alive and amongst us, we're all here to help one another. And there's just certain things that the universe will tell you, put on your spirit. And if you truly connect, there are benevolent beings that will communicate with your consciousness, and they make you aware of their presence. And I will say, I challenge anybody that does not meditate or pray to really just get alone with the universe. And the Bible says, test your spirit. So if you're hearing this as a spiritual thing, go test it and see what happens. Don't take my word for it. Go search for the truth on your own.
Yeah, have the experience. Don't be afraid to have the experience, because you can see Daniel is just in great high spirits. He's not in fear. He's open to having these experiences. And when you're open to these connections to source, creator source, people know as God, then you really truly have these experiences. And fear is dissolved. Like, you're not living in a fear state. You're not feeling suppressed. You see a lot of these people that are touting certain things, and they're just always afraid, and they're always just in fear, and just not very nice people. You know, they're just very, very mean. And
I try to be the light, man, and leave that example. And honestly, I think the more we move into this new age of Aquarius, I'm Aquarius, Stan. I was born February 5, 1980 at 1 and 1. Excuse me.
Oh,
1,
nice.
1, so synchronicity.
Well, I'm January 11th, 1972.
That's amazing. Check my God number 7, and you wonder why I resonate with Mr. Hallett so much.
Yeah, and I'm Capricorn, so it's
there you go.
That's great.
Synchronicity at its finest.
Yep. And so it's interesting here that did you tell them it like this, because you know the news likes to spin things, but it's interesting that you said it was a spiritual experience. Liberty Man says he captured the UFO on Facebook Live. Is that how you told it to them?
I honestly, when the news anchor was out there and she asked me about it, she asked me what my original thought was. I said, honestly, if I had to put a description on it, this is not my first time. I kind of pray these things up because I usually see them right after I've been in deep meditation or prayer, and they they're just saying hello to everybody else. I kind of know their presence when they're there. I feel it.
So they did kind of quote you correctly
Yes,
then?
sir.
Yeah.
Spiritual. Yes, yes. It has always been a spiritual experience. Just because this is not my first time. Just the first time I've ever called it on video and called it on a live feed, and I think they were there more saying hey to everybody else than they were me because I'm used to it.
Well, then, you know, you look at the bigger picture of things, and for those watching this video, you look how it's brought us to this point. So those of you out there that are doubting, then you can see this experience. Daniel wasn't afraid to go to the news and say, hey, I had this experience. I want the world to know. So now you look at where we're at, and we're talking about it, and you're starting to see where Daniel's background. He grew up studying the Bible in Pentecostal churches, and then he wasn't afraid to explore outside of after that miracle experience. So now look where Daniel is, you know, and you can see just from speaking, and his energy and his tone and his being, his whole person exudes nothing but greatness for the glory of God and for
Thank
every being on the planet. And there's no fear, you know, he's just, look at him, he's just glowing, you know what I mean? And everything that he has to say is just beautiful, beautiful. And he's got more of a message. And Daniel, isn't there something you're working on that you're going to be
you.
doing here?
I am. It's another God seed that I have a friend and some other children that's encouraged me to do. It's called, they came up with the idea. We, and help came up with the name. It's called Bridge the Gap. And it stands for Great Alliance, the Great Alliance. Um, it just slipped my mind, Stan, but it's called Bridge the Gap. It's an acronym. It's on Facebook. Y'all can type it in, check it out. I'm just planting the seed, and I feel like the reason that I'm doing this is that, for one, it's servants to others and humanity as a whole, and I feel like there's huge gap missing in what we're teaching our younger generation, and there's generations that are missing what they were supposed to have as a young adult. And if we look at all the chaos and violence that's going on out there, there's no way to bring forth unity if we don't find a way to bridge the gap. So my whole goal is just to allow youth to come in, educate them where they need to be educated, but let them run it and let them express their opinions so we as adults know how to move forwards with them. And I think if we bring that awareness and that consciousness and that intent to our youth, the world's going to be a beautiful place in 10 to 15 years.
Well, you know, you're absolutely right, because the children these days, they're coming in with so much knowledge and wisdom and abilities that the parents, you know, I pay attention to a lot of things, and there's a lot of parents out there that have stories. There's a lady that I met through a Facebook group. Both of her children, they can remember their past lives.
I remember two of mine, but I choose rather not to talk about. There's some people that know me personally that I talk about, and I'm just now becoming comfortable expressing some of the things that I'm learning through my self discovery. So I will not share those today. Maybe that's for another interview.
Yeah, that'll
And
be
maybe
perfect. That'll be
at
perfect.
some point that
Yeah,
I
that'll
could
be perfect.
improve to it. So
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's interesting because the lady, you know, I can't remember the gentleman's name or the pilot, but there's a story about a young man who was born who, at a young age, he would always cry as a baby and child. As he got older, he was always crying and having these, like, you know, nightmare seizures when he was sleeping. And when he was able to talk, I think it's Jason Lieberman. I can't remember. I'll try to put a link in the description below. But as he got older, he was drawing pictures of these World War II planes and the crashes and blood and gore and all this stuff. Well, apparently, he was the reincarnation of this pilot, and the father didn't believe in any of this stuff. And so he's like, oh, this is just, craziness. And then all of a sudden at some point he had to redact. He had to say, because his son knew the names of the pilots, knew all this history at a young age, and they were blown away. And then in the end, they just took the boy out on a boat, and they buried that story. And then the son, the boy stopped having the nightmares after a while. But you cannot deny his story. And then the lady that I know, her son does the same thing, draws pictures of all this, past life stuff, and speaks in like a British accent when he doesn't speak that way. In the drawings, speaks in a British accent. So, we think that he was on actually the Titanic.
Wow, that's amazing. I believe it.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. So, we are coming into this whole new frequency of the universe, how it, it's rotating, evolves. We're coming into this whole different point in the universe, which is a higher frequency. So if people can kind of step back, close your eyes, and imagine how the universe is working, and how things spin and turn, and how that magnetics keep the planets apart. Well, that's all energy and frequency. And as we move into this higher frequency through the galaxy and the entire universe, everything's moving together. It's like one big thing, just all moving together. And we're moving into this different fold. And it's a higher frequency. That's the consciousness and the frequency advancing, and all the beings and everything on the planet within that section of the universe moving into that higher frequency is all advancing. So that's simply what's happening. When you look at Drumbelow Melchizedek's books, The Flower of Life, he apparently had a connection to Thoth and got all this information, wrote about it, and described everything like piano keys. You got the 8 octaves and then everything in between of all these frequencies, and you start thinking of the universe, how it moves in that way, because
Right.
in between frequencies, there's all the other subtle frequencies. And that's basically us and everything that we see among us. It's all these
Well,
frequencies.
being that you talk about frequencies, I can get my mom on sometime, and she can vouch for my life. I'm a mama's boy. For one, I got a tattoo on my chest, and she's been my savior most of my life. So I've always told her my whole life growing up, I feel energy, like a vibration. And the only thing, because I kind of got a sense of knowing and a sense of ability to just got a great sense of discernment. And they would ask how, in the family around me, and people would ask. And it's the more I stay focused in the intent of my heart, and I keep it pure, and I try to keep positive vibes all the time, and try to keep negative thoughts out of my head these days. I would tell her, like, Mom, the only way I can explain the vibrations I'm feeling is like my body's like a tuning fork, and my mind instantly understands what it's saying. And in the more presence of dark energy, I felt it. And when I'm in presence of light energy, I can feel it. And it's more in those comfort zones when I thrive is when I'm in the light. And when I feel the dark, my warrior sense comes out, and I already know on how to react and how to battle against it, and sometimes even turn the dark to light. And that's what our whole goal is here as light beings and energy beings, and understanding how do we raise our consciousness to where we have a rainbow body. I think that's the end goal, because there's proof in that theory too. So
The Tibetan monks, yeah, they leave their body and they call it the rainbow body.
yeah, I've been studying that stuff, man. And there's some amazing thermal images that's been caught during meditations and stuff. And it's kind of like the road I'm going down now at 40 years old, just trying to give up certain things in life to focus on others. And God makes you alone. You really buckle down and focus. You just kind of find His direction in those moments in life. A lot of people get discouraged.
Yep. Yeah, it's a tough journey to give up all the things you're conditioned. I mean, like, a lot of people for drinking and socializing, and it's hard to, it's hard to a certain point, because when you really want to make that shift, you really see all that kind of stuff. It's like you just don't care for it anymore. You just reach a certain point in your life. It's like all these things that I used to do, these whatever it was, things that didn't serve me anymore. It's like they don't even exist. It's interesting how it just disappears out of your life, and you're totally this different person. It's like you realize the illusion of the person, all these elusive things, and you realize you're not this body. You're not all these thoughts. You're not all these conditionings and programs. they just fall off, and they can. But the ego wants to hold on to them. And that's when you realize the death of the ego. When you start having these ego deaths, you're like, well, that's not me. And that's what the Rishi said, neti neti, not this, not this. And when you're open to releasing all these veils, you realize, wow, I am really a light body just witnessing. I'm really just consciousness witnessing the appearing and disappearing of all things. And that's when we are connected to the divine and operating as a vessel through the higher source. It's just coming through. We're not doing anything. We're just the vessel manifested in form, you know,
Right.
consciously working within this realm.
I will add, as you said, we're a vessel and we manifest in forms. I've been studying the indigo children, how they're being brought back, because I think like a lot of things are hidden in plain sight, like the 33-degree masonry, the whole inclination behind the 33-degree points, or 33-degree points around the world that are out of balance. And there's actually indigo star seeds that are here among us, that I'm learning, along with the world, that are actually here trying to heal these 33 points on our world. And you know, I will also add that the day that I recorded that live feed, the area that I was in, comes to find out it correlates with a ley line of magnetic-electricity around the world too. And around the edges of that field in that video, if anybody wants to zoom in and look and see how the trees are completely just bent round, top to the ground, will show you the centrifugal force of that ley line in that area. And all the trees are like that in the outer edges of that field that I was out praying in that day. So there could be something to my positioning in time and in raising my energy in that area too, that brought something in. You know, there's all kinds of possibilities, but until we start speaking these things and collectively wanting to learn from each other, I think that's the moment in time we are in now, is that the want is the awareness, and the intent behind people's curiosity is raising more than it is anything.
Oh, definitely. Intention has a lot. I mean, they say energy flows where your intention goes, and that's so true. Like everything I do in life, you just start to realize these things, and based back on, you know, hey, if my intention is, hey, I just want to go get drunk today, or I just want to go for a bike ride, you know, when you're in nature, you feel the energy of nature. When you get away from the electronics and doing what I do, I'm around electronics all the time, and I can feel the difference when I can just go stop and take a ride on my bike. You know, what is my intention for my life? And then that just starts to set the trend for your entire existence and how that all works. So intention is everything, definitely. And it's just it's the manipulation of energy.
There's a simple experiment anyone can do that wants to test the intent of your heart. You can take an apple, slice it in two halves, set one in your kitchen and one by your bed. In the morning, the one by your bed you speak to every morning for 7 days, peacefully love and speak joy over it. And then the one in the kitchen, you go take out your anger energy on it, and talk ugly to it. And the one that you actually will talk ugly to will die before the one that you speak good to in the morning. So anybody that wants to test the theory or the intent of your own heart, you're welcome to try it. You know, that's just a simple experiment that actually works.
Oh, definitely. That's Dr. Emoto's work. It's like, you know, when he studied the structure of water and the crystals, when freezing it, when speaking that way to water, you know, the prayer, one you prayer over water, the other one you say, I hate you, you're disgusting, I hate, you know, I'll kill you or whatever. And then you see the distortions in the water. So yeah, and we're 70 to, you know, what did they say, 80% water. And so that's how we can be programmed through frequencies. And a lot of people don't realize we're under a biological warfare through frequencies.
Absolutely, especially this new 5G and 6G. I mean, there are safer ways to use them, and we can still use them to communicate. But when we're not paying attention to how we're affecting one another is when it becomes a problem.
Yeah, and you know, even you mentioned 5G, 6G. I mean, when you do the research, they can still operate within the megahertz range as well as the gigahertz range. So it's kind of like a dimmer on a light switch. It just depends on what one they're using and utilizing. So there can be safer 5G. Yes, radiation is bad altogether, but hey, we're in this age. We're in this technological age. I do perceive that if we're conscious of these things, we can create that energy field for ourselves to a certain extent. Because, you know, my hands, I feel it in my hands when I'm on the computer.
Well, if you look at where the virus is mostly affecting, like I know a lot of people are naysayers about 5G and nanotechnology, but it's actually very, very feasible. And if you use your mind in a common sense manner and look at some of these areas that are more affected by some of this virus, you know, we can't transmit a virus, but we can microwave some kind of nanotechnology to increase the bacterial effects to our human body. And if you look at some of the areas that has some of the 5G already been installed and
China,
now,
Italy, where the biggest
yeah,
clusters were.
right. And there's where the hugest bunkers are over by the catacombs and under Italy, and that's where a lot of the secret society came. And
Italy.
I was actually raised to be an odd fellow, and a lot of my ancestry come from Europe. I'm 59% British, 36% Scottish, 4% Norwegian, 2% Western Jewish, and 1% Middle Eastern Jewish. So, like, it took me a long time to gain the knowledge that I have, but I've still never quit searching. So, to understand where I come from and people that are in my families and how they wrote history, um, it's just completely amazing, some of the things that I've found. But yeah, I can verify, like, I got a lot of military buddies, Stan. I know a couple that's at Gitmo right now through the National Guard that were activated. They've been there for about 2 years. I can tell you the DUMs over in Arizona and in Nevada are being dismantled. I know that as a fact. Um, so, like, I can't tell you how I know things, but I promise you, truth resonates with truth. You just kind of, sometimes you either trust it or you don't.
Yeah, just the video I did previous with you, we went over a lot of the Q stuff with Rice Crypto, and you know, me and him been covering the Greg Hallett, but we did a different video today regarding, you know, some of the Q stuff, and I went over that, and a lot of people are like, well, if this is happening, how come I don't know about it? Well, think of how many military operations that go on in the world you will never know about. The second thing is, if they are doing these underground bases and they do have children, they're not, through the protections of the children and the rights of human beings, you're never going to hear about it. You're not going to see it. You'll probably hear maybe at a later date that this was done, but as the op goes on, they don't want to broadcast it for certain reasons, because one, they can't. Two, they're not going to bring the controlled media out. You're not going to invite the controlled media out, and first, the controlled media is not going to show you that because they don't want you to know that that's real and happening, because a lot of them are tied to that. So they're going to try to suppress as much as possible. And two, it's dangerous. They're not going to bring a cameraman down into a cavern underground where they have to wear, you know, night vision goggles and respirators to go down and do these, you know, these things. It's just not going to happen. So you have to get out of your own expectations and belief systems to think that, hey, if it's not happening on the TV, then it's not real. Then you're, again, being ignorant of other wisdom and facts that and reasons why these things can't be done that way, and they won't be.
There's naysayers. There's a lot of celebrities just all of a sudden exiting stage left, and then you got to look at Jimmy Kimmel. He just took off in a hurry.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and they haven't been as vocal on these whole social media sites lately, haven't they? So it's been pretty quiet lately. But yeah, I mean,
notice Oprah's not around no more. Huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. You know, and even when you watch the Tom Hanks, you know, on Saturday Night Live and all that, you can, if you really slow down the videos, you can see the anomalies on the chin, how they roll over the collar. You know, I slowed them down and watched them. I'm like, yeah, these are definitely deep fake videos. And if you're not familiar, those of you not familiar with deep fakes, it's where they can put an Obama face on me, and I can talk, and it looks like it's Obama and his voice and everything, but it's not. So they can do this kind of stuff to fool you, and who knows how many times that's happened. But it's the technology is there, and if you're watching the television, it's definitely a directed story to keep you from knowing the truth. Many of us know that.
If you can control the narrative, you definitely can control the world.
And they've been doing that for how long, Daniel? A long time.
Thousands of years, I'm sure.
Thousands of years.
It's long for us to dismantle the things that we're just.
Why do you think they came out with the television? Like, oh my gosh, if we can get something, put it in their homes and tell them what the story is. Yeah.
It's the biggest mind control weapon they have, television.
That I've been saying that since I quit watching TV at a young age. And I mean, I enjoy some shows just like anybody else. I'm human.
Me
I had
too.
a family, and you know, the more I watch it, the more I see the programming. A lot of people don't understand megapixels. You can put 100 megapixels into almost a millisecond. In that millisecond, these flashes of megapixels you're not seeing to your naked eye. But subconsciously, you're bringing them into your brain and into your conscience, whether you're aware or not. And those can be triggered through sounds, through frequencies, through bad diets. And that's what brings a lot of negativity out in people, and they're not even aware of it.
Oh, well, I'll tell you one example of subliminal messaging. Back when DVRs were available, I knew that there was that Rosemary's Baby that came on TV. And I said, there's got to be something in this. So what I did is I recorded like 30 minutes and then I played it back. And unless you did that, you wouldn't see the Baphomet symbol. It was the circle with the pentagram upside, pentagram with the Baphomet head. And unless you slowed it down, you wouldn't see it because I played it full. And I showed my sister and I said, look, play it at regular speed. You don't see it. You slowed it down. Boom. It flashes up really quick.
Do you know how I knew how to start looking for Greg Hallett?
How's that?
There was a documentary I was watching on TV. I think I saw it in Out of the Shadows, and then
Out of
again,
Shadows, yeah.
I saw it again. It was just a flash in the screen on the end of the movie. It said, "And then the King," and I caught it. And then I looked up the new
What
King.
did it say? The new King?
It said the King. I just caught it. It was just a flash out of the shadows. It said, "And then the King" at the end of the show. It's on 2 separate documentaries that I've saw so far. And then I looked it up, and then I found your interview with Greg Hallett, and I just started I was like, well, man, spiritually, I've been announcing we got to prepare a way for a king for over 3 years now, and here we go. I see this, and now we got a new king. It got me excited. It got me moving, and it got me more willing to say, hey, maybe there's more to what I've been doing than just Danny trying to inspire people, be an inspiration. So I'm just excited to be a time in this, and to be Aquarius in the time of Aquarius for me is really exciting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're coming into some great times. I'm looking forward to it. You feel it. Many of people like myself, we feel it. We can see it. Yes, like I said, I was talking to Chris in my last video. It was like when Trump came out and this whole Q thing, I didn't pay any attention to it because I was like, the whole world is so run by these deep, criminals that there's nothing we can do unless everybody wakes up. And then on my birthday, January 11th, I stumbled across this Q thing going on here in Tampa, Florida. And that was the beginning. I started looking into it more and I was like, wow, there's something to this. So I was like, whoa, so Trump might be an actual real deal and this Q thing might be a real deal. And I was like, now I'm like, wow, I'm seeing everything unfold. General Flynn just gets released. We're starting to see all the, how he's playing the game against them and playing them into their hands. I'm like, wow, this is deep. This is good. This is the end of evil reign. This is it.
You just tell them sometimes you got to show them.
Exactly. You can't tell the people, you got to show them, and that's it. And that's what we're saying. Once you get to see it for yourself and you have the experience, there's no turning back. There's no turning back. So yeah, I got to probably end us here, but we can always come back for another follow-up. We got to cover your story. We didn't really get into much of our UFO experiences. We kind of got more into the spiritual side of things, and but that's okay too. I'll title this one like spirituality and the UFO connection, and something like that.
Yeah, if anybody can feel free, they can reach me on Facebook. That's the only platform I use. I try to keep it simple, Stan.
I think I still got to connect with you on Facebook. I don't think we've connected there yet.
Yeah, just y'all welcome to look me up. I do a lot of prayer. Anytime y'all feel like you need somebody praying, like that's where I find my contentment.
Sounds good, Dan. And when is this project of yours going to be fully going on?
We're looking at by the last week of July doing an official kickoff. We've already got a Facebook page started. I got a collective. I have a partner in crime that's helping me with it. She's going to stay in the shadows and be more of a business-minded, help us make it move into a nonprofit. And really make it a solidified thing for the future and for future children to come. So I don't want to do anything other than say bridge the gap. It's a great alliance of prosperity is what GAP stands for. And that's what we're trying to build, is a great alliance for prosperity.
If you want to email me the links to your Facebook and that Facebook page, I'll put them in the description below. So if people want, they can connect with you on there. And if there's anybody that wants to support Daniel and what he's doing, reach out to him. I encourage you to do that. And well, Daniel, anything else you want to share with anybody?
Dan, you do awesome work, brother. I appreciate you.
Likewise, brother. I look forward to seeing your project unfold here, and great talking to you. Much love, brother, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Good fortune, bro.
All right, Daniel. Have a great day.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.